Group, where we do chiropractic, exercise therapy, medical massage, and we help people lose some weight. And today I have with me a good friend, Jackson Sanderson. He's a real estater with Berkshire Hathaway in downtown Libertyville. How are you doing today, Jackson?
Doing great. We're hanging in there, my friend.
Good. So how long have you been in real estate?
Well, let's see. It's been about 26 years I've been practicing real estate here in Lake County.
That's an amazing length of time. What I kind of wanted to start our conversation on was your industry went through a very big recession not that long ago. And not only did you come out on the other side in good shape, you actually were able to grow and expand. And I was kind of hoping to help some people with some motivation, because I think a lot of people are struggling with that portion of the puzzle right now. So could you go over some things that help keep you motivated, and then how you got through it and all that kind of good stuff?
Well, I definitely think the end result of the two recessions will be different, but we can talk about that later. But, back in 2008, we went through some tough times. Obviously, we had a recession that was really due to a financial crisis, unlike the current one. But what we did is, like anybody in business, you have to stay focused. You have to have a positive attitude. You have to surround yourself with positive people, work together as a team. I know the things that we did is, obviously, sales were down a lot. A lot of people were not buying homes. Values of homes were so low that a lot of people that wanted to sell couldn't sell. So really what we did is look at every aspect of the business and how we could assist our clients and basically continue to grow. So in the past, I had never worked with banks selling foreclosure properties. So we started to reach out to bankers and find out what they had going on. And unfortunately, a lot of people went into foreclosure. So we would list the properties and sell the properties that were listed by banks. Another thing we did is help people in what we're known as a short sale. And that's a person that still has rights to their home. They've not been foreclosed on. They've not been, the home has not been taken away from them yet. They're trying to sell the home and work with the bank. So we worked with a lot of buyers and sellers with that. Actually went out and got a certification known as a short sale foreclosure resource certification. And we used that, teamed with some attorneys, and helped a lot of folks out during those tough times. Investors were big then. Obviously, they saw the value of the properties. So we started to work with a lot more investors, both on helping them purchase the property for long-term rental and for flipping, and then ultimately helping them sell the end product after they remodel it, or helping them lease the product when they had it all set and ready for the renter. And then we also expanded our leasing business and worked with tons of tenants and landlords. So, there's always a silver lining. I'd done more traditional selling and focused on that. And with those tough times, it brought me to a new arena where I was able to, work with other types of buyers and sellers. And I still use those skills today.
Perfect. So when you were kind of reassessing after the crash, and did you initially have all of those avenues kind of in your back pocket, or did you take some additional courses, or just kind of see where the chips fell as you're going?
No, exactly. The one is the Illinois Association of Realtors, actually, which is a part of the National Association of Realtors, has a series of certifications and designations that you can take. It's just a way to continuing your education in the business, which I've always done over the years. And around that time, they put together a course, which again was called the SFR, Short Sale Foreclosure Resource. And in that, you learned everything about the whole process of foreclosures, what a short sale was, what needed to be done, and make sure that we were educating and informing and consulting our clients appropriately. We also started to team up with other attorneys that had sort of also had done some additional education on this as well. So IR and NER, which is our board associations, really were helpful in that. So I did that. In regards to investing, I had been an investor myself. My parents had been real estate investors, so I already had an understanding and knowledge of that. So I just sort of ramped that up and obviously continue to read books and self-educate on that, because I already had a pretty good understanding of it.
Okay. So then as we transition, you are responsible for training hundreds of real estate attorneys over the years. So how are you keeping your team together? How are you communicating effectively? What tips would you have for some people out there on how to do that without meeting it in person? Because obviously that's, I think, everybody's preferred, but that's not possible right now. So,
well, here's what's interesting is you talk about how you learn and you take things away. I had never, obviously I knew what FaceTime was and Google Duo and things like that, but I had never heard of Zoom before. And Zoom is a platform that a lot of people are using today. And obviously that had been a stock to invest in, right? But we really have seen it work on many platforms. I know our company, Berkshire Web Services, we have a weekly office meeting. And we also have a weekly town hall where our 3 senior executive leaders are bringing in different guests and different panels. And we've been doing all of that through Zoom. It's just been a great way to keep in touch and keep in contact with my colleagues in the business and share some best practices. Also, and I know but the audience may not know, I do training for our company. We have a training team, and I actually conduct training to new agents on a Friday, every Friday. And we haven't stopped that. We haven't missed a beat. So we basically are able to use Zoom. We're able to do a slide deck presentation off of PowerPoint and share that with all the new agents. And I'm training about 20, 25 new agents every Fridays on all the different things, from buyer presentations to listing presentations. And we're adding in a new twist, obviously, is, well, how do we do that in this current environment where you can't necessarily meet with people? And actually, I have a team myself. I have 2 buyer agents that work with me and an administrative assistant that works with me. And we've been doing weekly meetings as well, trying to just keep in touch and making sure everybody's doing, what they need to be doing. But what's interesting is this whole Zoom platform really can be used in a lot of methods. One of the things that have changed, obviously, is when we're showing property. And what we're finding is that obviously there's a series of people that don't feel comfortable showing their home, and we totally understand that. And listings have come off the market in what they call a temporary status. But there are people that still want to, either it's a vacant property or they want to sell their home. They have certain timeframes in place. So in one scenario, we're signing disclosures saying that we don't have COVID-19. We haven't been around anybody COVID-19. We haven't traveled outside of the country. Our buyer clients have to sign it as well. We're using face masks and gloves, keeping the 6-foot distance protocol. And we're actually going in and looking at properties. I showed an investor 3 properties over the weekend. And I've been showing a couple other parties properties as well. Interest rates are low, as I'm sure Brett will tell you this week, and they're still awesome, and people want to take advantage of that. So a lot of folks are saying, hey, as long as I take precautions, I'm going to get out there and look at some homes. And then the other cool thing, Brian, is talking about this whole new technology, Zoom. I've got a client that is a transferee, and they're not looking at the properties virtually just because of COVID, but because of COVID and because of Zoom, we've all become more comfortable with the technology. So I've shown a client of mine a very nice property, about 4 or 5 properties I've shown them thus far, in Libertyville and Gurnee and Green Oaks and those markets over the last few weeks. And we went for our second showing last week, and I put together a deal. So it's a first, Brian, the first virtual deal I've ever done, where this client never set foot in this house. And we did it virtually. We actually had his parent come along. She put the mask and gloves on, as did I. We did a very detailed using the Zoom platform on our phone. And then we wrote the offer with digital signature, and I consulted them with the process on Zoom. And we submitted the offer. It got accepted. And then we'll be working with Jay Miles, who who's going to be doing a home inspection for us. And we'll be all there doing the gloves and mask thing. But we're getting the job done, Brian, no matter what the situation is. You can't just stay still. You got to keep moving forward and serve the client.
That's amazing. So there's a lot of steps in there, if you guys didn't catch them, that they're doing. So they're masking, they're gloving, they're doing virtual tours. There's a lot of different steps they're doing to try to keep everybody safe. So let's, I guess, highlight that a little bit before we move on. And then as we move on, with the real estate market, have you seen a dip in price, a stagnant in price? Has it changed drastically in 3 months, or people just kind of figuring, since this has a questionable end date, that eventually things would turn around?
Yeah, exactly. I think let's talk about that. I mean, one thing I wanted to bring your attention to, we did start off the conversation with talking about the 2008 crisis. I think a lot of the economists that I've been reading and listening to are saying, hey, here's the difference. As we all probably remember from Econ 101 back in college, the true definition of a recession is two quarters of a decline in gross domestic product. So obviously, with having the industry being shut down for 2 months, our economy shut down, we're going to be in a recession. So we know that's a reality. But I think the biggest difference, people need to realize is that the one from 2008 that really had a decline in the real estate market from '08 to 2012, and things didn't start to improve until 2013. That was a long haul, and a lot of people lost a lot of money in their real estate as an investment. I don't see that happening here. I hear economists saying either it's going to be what's known as a U recovery or a V recovery. And a U recovery means it goes down, it sort of lulls for a while, and then it eventually comes back up. And then a V is it will come right back up. I'm more of the optimist, and I'm hoping for the V. And I think here's what the difference is: that this particular recession did not happen because of a financial crisis. It was something that was out of our control, this health concern. And obviously, we as a society have been able to have to hunker down here, and we're having the stay-at-home order. So to answer your question, Brian, here's what we saw. When the word was out that there was the coronavirus around, but the shelter-at-home ordinance had not been put out, what we still saw is, yes, a decline in showings, but there were still people showing property. We had a strong February. My first 2 weeks in March were strong. We were putting properties on the market and selling them in a week. We're having one of the best spring markets we've had in a long time, and that was sort of unfortunate. Once, they decided to do the stay-at-home ordinance, which is understandable, we did start seeing some people that had some concerns. And I personally had a couple of issues where we had a person who got so concerned that they canceled the contract within the first 5 days of an attorney approval. We had another guy doing a renovation loan, and he had certain timelines he had to fit. And because of the stay-at-home ordinance, they canceled. So I did unfortunately have 2 cancellations. But believe it or not, one of those 2, within a week later, we got an offer, and actually a better offer, by just a homeowner an investor looking to buy it as an investment property. So as much as you have people that are concerned and they're canceling a contract, you are all having people saying, I'm taking advantage of these interest rates and I'm going to buy properties. Now, as much as the values, I think, unfortunately, there will be scenarios where people will take advantage of the situation, and investors will come in with low offers, and sellers will, not sure what the future will bring, and they don't want to run a risk of losing an offer, and they will probably take something lower than they usually would do. And actually, I did have one like that where the home did sell for much lower than we had hoped for. It still was a fair price, but it was lower than we thought we could have gotten had this not happened. But as a long, drawn out decrease in value, I really don't see that happening, because I think when the stay-at-home ordinance is lifted and a lot of people are feeling more comfortable getting out there, I think there's going to be a pent-up demand. The interest rates are low. A lot of people want to start looking at properties. A lot of folks that were holding off putting them on will put those homes on the market, and I think you will start to see a resurgence. So what we typically would see in spring, I think, may move to late summer, is what we're seeing a lot of the economists are saying may play out.
Okay. So on the flip side of that coin, where there are 14 or 20 million unemployed people, I guess at this point, it's a huge number. So if they do need to go through like the short sale process or the foreclosure process, the easiest way to do that would be to contact a real estate agent first, or a real estate attorney first, or...
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think what you're going to have is there's going to be some individuals out there that are working for essential businesses, or people that are in corporate America that can work from home, and they've not had to file unemployment, and they're going to be the folks who are taking advantage of these low interest rates and going out there looking for property, either because they have to purchase a home for their personal situation or for an investment. But you're right, Brian, there's going to be a segment of society that unfortunately, like the restaurant industry, these guys are really getting hit hard. I get it. And there's going to be some people that are probably going to have some financial difficulties. So with those folks, if they are, and there is actually a thing. One thing they can do is they can talk with their lender, and the lenders are allowing what's known as a forbearance. And a forbearance is a unique situation where the bank basically puts a hold on your payments for X amount of months. Now, it's not forgiven. You have to ultimately do a loan modification or pay the money up at the end of that period of time. So that'd be the first step that someone may want to look at if they've lost their job and they can't make the payments. From there, if they're not going to be able to do a loan modification, or they're not going to be able to pay those dollars up, and they just want to move forward and sell their home, then really the best step is to talk to a real estate broker. Obviously, if they don't have someone they worked with in the past, I'd be happy to help them. and we would do a full-blown market analysis. And from there, we need to find out if there's equity. If there's equity, we would be able to sell the property without a short sale. We just put the home on the market, price it right, and if we get an offer, we wrap it up. If they start to go into foreclosure, we have to communicate with the bank and find out not only what the back payments are, but what any penalties, legal fees, late fees that have been incurred by the lender. Now, if they are upside down, let's say they had a second mortgage or something like that, and now the amount of money they owe is more than what the market will bear, that's the definition of a short sale, along with the hardship, which they would have because they've lost their job. And then that's when you'd work with an agent that understands short sales, and they would team up with a real estate attorney that understands short sales, and then we'd work together to get the home sold and to get the bank to allow that lower price. The upside of a short sale, if someone's in that situation, is when it's negotiated, the bank is ultimately paying all the closing costs, plus the legal fees, plus the realtor and the attorney fees too. So again, if you want to make sure you're working with a real estate broker and attorney that have the certifications to understand how the short sale process works.
So I guess to kind of wrap it up, any words of wisdom, anything you'd like people to know before we go over your contact information, and words of encouragement?
Yeah, I guess I would just say this. I'd said, I mean, obviously we're all people out there being affected by this. I think we got to stay positive. We have to work, and you and I are in a networking group together. And I think having, fellow business associations talking about what their situation is, sharing best practices is unbelievably helpful. So for me, talking to my peers in other industries like B&I, also talking with my peers at Berkshire Hathaway, talking to people that I know from the industry is very helpful. I've actually been busy. Again, I've been at my home office now for over a month, but we're doing it again. We even have people looking to list their property, and they've been in a situation where they know this is going to eventually, this stay-at-home will be lifted, and they're going to want to get out there and sell. And we're doing our listing presentations virtually too. So I would just say, stay busy, stay focused as a business person, and we'll get through this. And I guess I would just say, ultimately, if you are on a hardship and you have lost your job and you need to move forward with selling your home, there are professionals out there that know how to do it right for you and sort of guide you through the process.
That's excellent news. So let people know how to get a hold of you. What is your website?
Sure. So you can reach me at jacksonsanderson.com is my website. I'm also having the Jackson Sanderson group on Facebook. My phone number is 847-373-9153. My email is jsanderson@BHHS That stands for Berkshire Hathaway of Chicago. So that's my contact information. I focus here in the Lake County area. I'm also licensed in Wisconsin. I can hop over the border if need be. But again, Berkshire Hathaway has over 27 offices all throughout the Chicagoland area. So if you don't live in Lake County and you live in Chicago or Naperville in the western suburbs, I could refer you to a top-notch person in those other markets as well.
That's great to hear. And if you have any questions for Jackson, please feel free to reach out. We'll make sure that he can get a hold of you. He's available. I've used his services analysis in the past. It's a top-notch service. It goes way above and beyond anything else I've ever seen. So if you are in the market, make sure you give him a call or an email and go from there. But hope you all have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. We'll be talking about mortgages. So,
hey, one last thing I just wanted to tell you, I really appreciate you allowing me to talk on your platform here. I think you're providing a great service with everybody here. And again, we've always loved working with you in your industry, helping out our family with our chiropractic needs. So thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for that, Jackson. And I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow.